Greater Toronto Hockey League made the decision on Saturday to stop everything.
Hockey went off in March, and it's not like in September we're just going to turn that switch right back on.
Time is of the essence.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that continue on into the spring until we have a vaccine or other ways of identifying the virus.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 39 of Off the Puck Hockey. I'm your host, Tyler Fines, and you can catch Off the Puck Hockey on Rogers TV Channel 20 every Saturday night at 9 p.m. You can also view our live recordings on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Just follow at Off the Puck Hockey on Twitter and Instagram for dates and times to check us out. Off the Puck Hockey welcomes our new sponsor, Hockey Shot. Hockey Shot is your go-to online specialty retailer of hockey training equipment. They're revolutionizing hockey skills around the world, offering fun, innovative, and accessible training aids to work on your skating, stick handling, shooting, passing, and more. Hockey Shot is focused on making you a better hockey player, not only with training aids, but the best training content, drills, tips, and programs designed with the help of top professional athletes, coaches, and more. Visit hockeyshot.com to learn more. The future of hockey starts now. Let me introduce the boys. We got Adam Stiles and Mikey Walks. What's going on, fellas?
Not too much. What's going on with you, buddy?
Yeah, just another day, another dollar, as they say. Walks, what's up with you, fella?
Not too much. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Well, after some technical difficulty, we finally got rocking here. And our guest today has played over 600 games of professional hockey, including 310 games in the NHL, New York Rangers, Pittsburgh Penguins, Chicago Blackhawks. He's accumulated over 1,700 penalty minutes during that time. He's been awarded the Civilian Canadian Forces Medallion for distinguished service for multiple visits to military bases and taking part in a ball hockey game in Afghanistan. Welcome to the show, Ryan VadenBussche. What's up, fella?
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming, Bushy.
I think you pumped up my my penalty minutes. I don't think it was 1,700. It might have been 700 and something.
Oh, I think it's 17 after professional
maybe
minutes. Professional minutes over 1,700. Don't tell me what I know.
You
don't tell me what I know. I'll go back and find it.
Okay.
No, we're glad to have you, man. Really excited. The boys have been pumping your tires. What have you been up to now that you're not playing hockey? It's been a while, but what keeps you busy?
Well, number one, being a dad. I got two kids that are playing, fairly competitive hockey locally here, and my daughter's out in Stony Creek, so that keeps us on the road quite a bit. And my wife and I sell real estate, and then also I'm in the farming business. I applied in 2013 to federally produce cannabis, and 7 years later, April 2020, finally got my federal license to be able to produce and process and sell for medical purposes. So that's a project that's just coming off the ground right now.
Awesome. Congratulations. And obviously with, that's taken off, especially here in Canada, and it's nice to get in on the ground floor and hopefully start yourself a pretty lucrative business down the line. You're saying your daughter's playing in Stony Creek. What level hockey is she playing?
AA girls hockey.
Oh, what level? What level? How old is she?
Midget, so she's 15. Yeah,
she's a midget.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. Would I have been coaching against her this year if we would have been able to play? Because I coached midget AA as well, so that would have been awesome. Would have loved to see her play.
Where are you coaching out of?
Etobicoke.
Okay.
Yeah, we're out of Etobicoke. It's our final year. We let the girls know I'm moving back to boys for the 2021 season. But all the respect in the world for girls hockey and everything it did for me for the last 6 years. But I figured go back to boys and take up podcasting for a living.
Right on. Well, good for you.
So here we are, and that's great news. How's the real estate market been for you guys with everything going on?
It's been crazy, actually. When the pandemic first hit us in March, everything kind of shut down. It wasn't that was usually our busy time of the year in the spring, but all the way through the summer, right up until today, it's still been crazy. There's not a lot on the market, right? So the demand is high and supply is pretty low. So prices are going through the roof.
Well, we're excited to have you on. We're probably going to talk a little hockey. I think that's kind of the premise of the show, apparently. So we want to make sure we touch on that, but obviously want to get to know a little bit about yourself. What really got you into hockey at a young age?
My dad, I think, was a huge fan of the game, and he was always involved in it. He wasn't he was a goalie when he was a kid, but he said he was no good at it. And he managed some intermediate B teams back home. We dealt with a lot of ex-pros, and he just got me into skating, and I took a passion for it.
Perfect. Well, that's great. That's awesome. And how did you decide you didn't want to be a goalie? Were you a player the whole time? Did you ever test out the goalie position?
Oh yeah. I think everybody wants to try to be a goalie because they think they can do it. And I did that one time in practice, and I was horrendous.
Yeah. There's another guy I know that's a pretty horrendous goalie too, and he's on the podcast, so it's all right.
Yeah, Walker. I don't know. He's terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bussche, what was hockey like growing up around Norfolk County and playing hockey? Where'd you play, and where'd you first kind of get noticed?
Well, I grew up in a little hamlet called Lindau, which is just outside of Delhi. So I played all my minor hockey in Delhi, and it was double C hockey. And I don't know if you remember Jordy Kinnear. He's coaching the Panthers farm team this year.
Yep.
So he was the other guy that I grew up playing with, and we were always competitive with each other. But yeah, so that was kind of, double C hockey playing in Delhi, you don't think you're ever going to go anywhere. And I didn't have any expectations at all at the time. I just loved playing the game. And Jordy and I always competed against each other and pushed each other pretty hard. And then when we won the All Ontario's, we were Bantam major. Last year, Bantam was our last year of minor hockey, but then we got called out to play with the midgets and we won the All Ontario's then.
Oh, nice. Yep.
Then we were invited to some junior B camps, and then we made a junior B team as a 16-year-old. And then from there, things happened pretty fast. I ended up being drafted by the Cornwall Royals in the 14th round in 1990. Never in the world did I expect to make the team, and went to camp. And my dad says, "Well, Ryan, you're a 14th round draft pick. You're going to maybe last 2 days unless you do something out there and get noticed. So get noticed in a good way out there." And I went out there and worked my butt off and got noticed and made the team.
Nice. So is that kind of when fighting became part of your game? Do you realize you just kind of had to turn that kind of style to make it instead of just your normal playing style?
Yeah, that was interesting. I was always a bit of a aggressive player. I was a good skater. I'd forecheck hard and back check hard, and when I forechecked, I finished my checks. And so I was doing that all through minor hockey, and then in junior B, and I played some junior C the same year as well. And when I did that, as a 16-year-old playing against bigger guys, just finishing my check, they didn't like that, and they sometimes you get their guys coming after me then, and I didn't ever turn away. Yep. And I guess that's where you can say I started honing in on my pugilistic skills. And then Cornwall, there's a scout in Cornwall, Terry McFarlane, who liked what he saw in one of the games, and they just said, "I will choose this kid here, VandenBussche." I saw him fight and Chatham, one of the overagers, and he did pretty well as a 16-year-old. So that's kind of how I got my foot in the door with Cornwall. Then I get drafted by Cornwall, and Mark Crawford was a coach. Oh, nice. And then I get into training camp, and I don't know if you remember Owen Nolan, but he was a first overall draft pick that year for the Leaks. Yeah. And I got noticed in a good way by hitting him with a good clean body check, and then knocked him out. And he missed the first 3 weeks of training camp. Missed training camp, and missed first 3 months of the season as well from the concussion. And so they saw my physicality and they liked it. And Mark Crawford's that type of guy, so he wanted me on a team. So between that year, my first year of major junior A was between the Cornwall Royals and the Messina Americans, which is a tier 2 junior A team right across the river in the U.S.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, and then I got established after that.
Olin Nolan, a big boy back then too?
Oh, yeah. He was 20 pounds back then for sure, yeah.
Yeah, he was a big guy. How was Crow as a coach?
He was nuts.
Was he? Yeah. Kind of like they say? Kind of like you hear all about him?
Yeah, no, he was an interesting coach. I think he was he motivated me. He's one of the guys that worked with me a lot. Brian, I want you to take this tennis ball, and before every practice and every game, I want you to hit it against the wall and work on your hand-eye coordination. And Ryan, your stick is too short. Get a longer stick. He just kind of helped me along the way with the little finer details of the game. And this one time we were having a really and we were on a bad stretch, and we got back from Sudbury from a long road trip, and we got our asses kicked up there. And then he says, get dressed, get on the ice. So we all got on the ice, and we all lined up against the boards, and we thought we were going to get bag skated through the middle of the night. And he talks in the middle of the ice, and he says what he can do to be a better coach. And then he started bag skating himself, doing laps around the ice. And we would stop.
No way.
We'll talk more about what he could do to be a better coach. And he did this for, I'm not kidding, 45 minutes. By the end of it, his face was beet red. He was spitting when he was talking. And then he said, the ice now. Let's be ready to go next game.
Jesus. Did you win?
We won the next game, yeah.
Well, that was nice.
We didn't make playoffs that year, so.
Yeah, you can say it's nuts.
Sounds like a hero move. It sounds like a bit of a hero move, but I get it.
Yeah, no. And then the following year, he was hired by the Toronto Maple Leafs farm team to coach the St. John's Maple Leafs. And then that following year, I was drafted by Toronto. So I had him again as a rookie in St. John's, Newfoundland, my first year pro.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Hawks, what you got?
Going from junior to the AHL there, you followed Crawford. What was it like going from, I guess, essentially fighting the boys to fighting the men?
Yeah. The guys in the, going from Major Junior A to the American Hockey League, it was quite a big difference. Guys are bigger and stronger and, faster. And, some of them are mean. You're dealing with some guys in the American Hockey League. I like to call it the Always Hungry League, because anyone that's there is very hungry to get to that next level, because you are so close. You don't realize how close you are to the NHL until you're playing in the AHL. And then you're seeing guys beside you getting called up. And you're like, I can play like with this guy, why is he getting called up? Not me, So it's kind of one of those things, like you're happy for them, but at the same time, you can do the job. And it's just such a fine line. I've always said too, like you get rid of your, third and fourth line and replace them with any third, or any first two lines in the American Hockey League, you never notice a difference. Just like defensemen, get rid of your fifth, sixth defenseman, replace them with guys in the American Hockey League, you would never notice a difference. It's such a fine line. So you just need to get your break, and once you get your break, you got to, do something positive to get noticed and stay there.
Before you got there, though, you were playing with the Royals for 3 years and ended up getting traded to the or playing for the Guelph Storm, and that was a stud team. Like, you got Jeff O'Neill, Sylvain Cloutier, Todd Bertuzzi. Like, what was it like walking in that dressing room?
Yeah, no, that was so Cornwall. I was there for 2 years, and then Cornwall moved organizations. They moved from Cornwall to Newmarket. So then my third year was in Newmarket until about Christmas, and then I was traded to the Guelph Storm, where John Lovell was a coach there. He actually coached me my second year of junior. So after Mark Crawford left, John Lovell was a coach. Then he traded for me my last year, and it was a good. Like we kind of disappointed. We had a tough team. We had a lot of skill on that team as well. Jeff Best was on that team. And but come playoff time, we ended up getting beat by Detroit, and playoffs.
Jeff Best was an interesting player, man. That guy was putting up back-to-back 100 points years and really never got a crack. I think he never got past the coast.
That guy had more talent in his pinky than I did in my whole body. He was
wild, man. Wild. Just his numbers are crazy, but all of a sudden you get to pro and he just couldn't do it. He just hit a wall.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what happened. Bessie had a lot of things come to him. I don't want to say easy, but he was just the raw talent was so impressive. And then I think a lot of guys, once you turn pro and everyone's making some money, if you're not doing the job, it doesn't matter, what round you got drafted in anymore. It's just a matter of, are you getting the job done type thing. And if a fourth liner, like myself, is getting a job done and over a guy like Jeff Best, then, how do you react to that kind of stuff? So who knows? But Jeff, I give him all the credit in the world, because I think he won the gold, the World Juniors too.
Yep. Like I said, there's been some really good hockey players that have fell into that trap, unfortunately. And now all of a sudden you get to play your first AHL game that season too. You only played one, but you got in.
Right. Yeah. I was a 19-year-old. No, it was my first pro game. That was exciting. But it was quite the ride.
Yeah. So Ryan, drafted by the Leafs. Did you grow up a Leafs fan?
Absolutely.
So
I was kind of all over the map though. I like the Montreal Canadiens, Guy Lafleur, and I like the Leafs obviously because they're pretty much in our backyard. And I like Boston Bruins, Cam Neely, and of course I like Wayne Gretzky. So because he was from Brantford.
yeah.
So yeah, no, I was kind of all over the map, but definitely a Leaf fan.
So yeah, you're kind of happy. Were you? How was the feeling being drafted by them? Then pretty pumped up.
It was pretty surreal. I never, they came down and interviewed me in Delhi.
Oh really?
Dan Marr came down in the summertime before the draft, and he says, "Well, if you're around, we're gonna probably pick you around the 8th round," and that's exactly where I went.
Nice.
That was the 1992. I don't know if you guys remember, but that was the year that they took down basically the Iron Curtain. They didn't have a cap on how many people they could draft from Europe.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, so they drafted a whole bunch of kids from Europe that year, and a lot of people that were rated in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round never even got drafted. A couple of my teammates,
really,
because the Europeans got picked there, but I was fortunate enough to still get picked by Toronto in that 8th round where they said I was going to go.
Nice. And then let go in '95 by him. You picked up by the Rangers. Did you ever feel like you got the fair shot? You never got to play with the Leafs. Did you ever feel you got a fair shot to play with them, or what was the feeling there?
Well, do you guys? I don't know if you guys remember watching back then, but Pat Burns was a coach. So in 1990, 91 was my first year pro. 92, 93 was my second year pro. And that year they had Warren Reichel, Kenny Baumgartner with the Leafs. They were both injured. And then in the minors we had Kenny Belanger, Frank the Animal Bialois, and myself. And those two were injured as well, but I was healthy. So Bill Waters, the GM at the time, called me up. He says, "Ryan, you're playing really well. I think we're gonna call you up here and within the next couple of weeks." And he says, "Just keep doing your thing." So a couple of weeks go by and I get a call from Bill Waters again, and he says, "Ryan, I'm sorry to say this to you, but Cliff Fletcher just called me and he just said, we're not going to bring Ryan up. I just think he's too small to be a tough guy in the NHL." So they waited for Kenny Belanger to get cleared up, and then they brought him up. So at the end of the year, that year, they wanted to re-sign me. And, I told them, straight up, my goal is to play in the NHL. Am I in your plans? And basically they said, "No, you're there in American Hockey League to work with the younger guys. We want you around." And I said, "Well, thank you for the offer, my 10% increase." Because that's all they had to give me to keep my rights, because I was a restricted free agent.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I asked for my release, and they gave it to me. They didn't have to. So I was very thankful for that. And that's it. Then I signed with the Rangers that summer, late in the summertime.
Yeah, what was it like before we move on to those teams? I just kind of want to touch on your time in St. John's. What was it like living out there?
Yeah.
Oh, it was amazing. My wife and I were just talking. She asked me the other day, like, what was your favorite place to play? All pro hockey, and I said St. John's for sure.
Really?
Wow, okay.
Yeah, great crowds, great people. They treat you like family, and like lots of people invite you over for home cooked meals. And I lived on Logie Bay Road my first year, so not far from the rink, the old stadium. There's like a little miniature Maple Leaf Gardens. Oh, and then the following year, because we spent so much time on George Street, I thought it'd be best for me to live near George Street. I don't know if you guys are familiar with George Street.
Oh, yeah. Party time.
45 bars on that street alone. So I didn't want to wait for cabs to get home so I could just walk home. So I don't know if that was a blessing or a curse.
Yeah, what was living out? Yeah, so like you said, you spent a lot of time out there. What bars were you usually known to enter?
Oh, I don't know. A place called Green Sleeves and Jungle Gyms and Sundance Saloon. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a few of them. 45 of them, so I can't name them all.
That's right.
Highly recommended to go visit.
We try to do a bar crawl on that street many times, but you can never succeed because you
got to number 6, and that was the end of the crawl.
Right.
Yeah, and they were big supporters out there, right?
Oh, they're huge. It's a great introduction to pro hockey living out in Rock. And if you didn't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. They would set up. It was the sun didn't seem to shine a whole lot out there, so the team would set us up with what they called heliotherapy, and all it was tanning bed. You just go to the tanning bed and you just chill out in the tanning bed for about 20 minutes and come out and you feel great. So that's kind of what they provided for us.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good. So Bussche, you finally got into the NHL there. You're with the Rangers. Kind of go off the experience of living in New York and what it was like playing in the MSG and kind of that whole lifestyle.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. So yeah, that's my third year pro. I played my first full year in a Rangers organization in Binghamton, New York. So I was battling out there for a while, and then my fourth year pro in Binghamton, I got called up out. It was for December 13th, 1996. To be exact, and I'll never forget that feeling of flying into LaGuardia Airport and a town car picking me up and bringing me down to Madison Square Gardens and walking into the room, and the first person that actually I saw was Wayne Gretzky, and he walks over to me and he puts his hand out to shake my hand. He says, "Ryan VadenBussche, how you doing? How is Delhi treating you?" Nobody that I have ever played with in the American hockey or anywhere ever brought up Delhi. People ask me where I'm from. I'm from an hour and a half southwest of Toronto on North Shore Lake Erie. Delhi, have you heard of it? No. Best hockey player in the world greets me with, "How's Delhi treating you?"
Yeah,
that was pretty neat. And then I went out for warm up that game against the Islanders, and Todd Bertuzzi was with the Islanders at the time, and he was saying, "Good luck, Bussche, for your first game." But I didn't play that game. I played the next night in Buffalo.
Okay. Oh, that's all right. How many shifts you get?
I think I only had probably 5 shifts. Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. I remember sitting on the bench in Marine Midland Arena, I think it was called back then. And we're in Buffalo, and I remember looking to my left, there's Mark Messier, and to my right is Wayne Gretzky, and here I am sitting in between them both during this game.
Unreal.
Myself, I didn't think it was real at all. But, I was 6 years old when those guys broke into the league, and here I am playing with them. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, so Gretz and Messier, you talked about, kind of touch on them a bit. Any good stories with them, or kind of how are they such great leaders?
Messier was great. He was single at the time when we were there, and he took care of the younger guys, and he would take us out and show us where to go, where not to go, and he took care of the young guys for sure. Gretzky was awesome too. He was just a normal guy, like drink his beer like anybody else. And the one night he says, "Ryan, I got invited to go to this party. It's all these models and all that kind of stuff. So Eric Cairns and I got tickets to go." So he says, "Your name's going to be on a list. Just go there. Let me know how it goes the next day." So we get there. We wait in this long line. We show him the list and show him our names. He says, "Well, you're not Wayne Gretzky." And I said, "No, I'm not." So, "Well, you can't get in." So then Gretz asked, how was it last night? I'm like, "Well, the guy wouldn't let us in." And he's like, "Oh, that sucks." So anyway, the next day, and there was a big 60-pounder of Sky vodka in my stall. And I said, "What's this for?" He said, "Well, the guy was apologizing for me not letting him in. So he gave me a bottle of vodka. I'm giving it to you."
Oh, nice.
That's the kind of guy Gretzky is.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just a nice guy.
Oh, that's disappointing. I bet you that party would have sucked.
I know, eh? We were single at the time too, so it would have been fun.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Any other celebrity encounters or anything in New York? Meet any other famous big names?
Yeah, Luke Robitaille, Adam Graves, Brian Lee.
Oh, yeah.
There's not only a few to name.
Other than
this whole team was celebrities. What are you talking about?
Tim Robbins was a big Ranger fan. We saw him around the rink quite a bit. Got to talk with him. Yeah, it was just a neat experience. There's one game in New York when I wasn't. I was a healthy scratch, and we were at the Gardens, and Van Morrison was playing in the same rink. There's like 10 different levels.
Yeah.
At the Madison Square Gardens, and so I was watching the Van Morrison play during the first period of one of the games. So
nice.
Probably not good if the coaches knew I was doing that, but
but you had to.
There.
Speaking, all your famous teammates, being a goalie, what was Richter like?
He was great. That guy was not a big guy at all, and he was so quick and just a team player and amazing shape. He was a guy who was in one of the most best shapes in camp for sure every year. But really, really good guy.
We had him and Glenn Healy.
Yeah.
It's not a bad one, too.
No.
Yeah. Glenn Healy, he was a character, that guy.
I'm sure he was.
Yeah. Right now he's looking after the alumni, director of the NHL alumni. So taking care of
ask Styles about meeting him.
Yeah. Oh, you don't want to get in a chirp fest with him. He's pretty witty.
Yeah, it was hilarious because I went to Findsy when he was coaching the women's all-star game when he's coaching in Toronto there, and went down in the tunnels and talked to Findsy kind of after the game, and Stockton Healy walks by us. So me being a fan, I just see him and I said, "Heels," and he turns around and he thinks it's somebody that he knows because I'm calling him Heels. And he goes, "Hey, how are you, buddy?" And it turns around, just takes off. I'm like, "Yeah, he thought I knew him, but yeah." So
we got a picture though. Yeah, we got our picture.
Oh yeah, we got a quick pic, and yeah, he seems like a pretty funny guy. Just through that. Yeah, I hear lots of stories on him.
Yeah, he's great. Good guy to have in the dressing room for sure. Chirp fest.
Who was coach there that year?
Colin Campbell.
Oh, nice.
Colin Campbell, Tilsonburg native.
Tilsonburg. Yeah, what was that? What was it playing under him? What did he teach you while you were up there?
Well, he taught me to stay in my lane, basically. I'll never forget this one game. I was coming down the neutral zone on my off wing. I enter the zone on my off wing. I cut towards the middle. I make a drop pass to one of my centermen, and he gets a shot off on the net and a scoring opportunity. After the game, he calls me into his office, and he says, "Ryan, on this team, we have Lamborghinis, we have Porsches, we have Mercedes-Benz, and we have pickup trucks. You're a pickup truck. Don't make Take the red line and get it deep and run somebody over."
That's awesome.
Okay. Here's my role to find.
Oh my God, that's a t-shirt. We have Mercedes.
That's good.
That's wild, man. Oh man, don't make plays in hockey. Yeah, don't try to score. Yeah, Can you imagine now? Listen, here's the thing: if you would have buried, let's say you buried, all right. I wonder if
I still would have got the same speech. It doesn't matter how many times would that have happened, right? Anyway, my job was out there to get those top 2-3 lines a rest, and don't be a liability on the ice, and go out there.
Not a liability, you're a scoring machine.
Yeah, well, if they would have given me ice time, maybe I would have, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you had a goal. When did you score your first one?
I had 10 goals, man.
No, your first. No. That year with New York, you had one goal.
Jet me. Yeah, I know. That was my first 11 games. I scored a goal. That was against Philadelphia in Philly against Ron Hextall.
Hextall.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say, if you don't think I'm prepared for this with my elite prospect, you're friggin' lying. I know everything going on.
Yeah. Well, you just taught me something. I didn't know I played 1,700. I didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly in total. Yeah. Oh yeah. You racked them up pretty good.
Bussche, you went to Chicago after New York there, and kind of went with, I'm going to call him the GOAT of all time, Bobby Probert. What was your experience with him, and kind of how did he help you along the way of being a fighter?
Probie was a very unique individual. He was he'd give he wore his heart on his sleeve for sure, and he'd give you the shirt off his back. He was my roommate for 4 years in Chicago on the road. So I spent a lot of time with Probie, and he was at my wedding, and I was at Paul Bearer at his funeral. And one thing he taught me, he says, "Bussche, if there's anything I'm going to teach you, listen." He says, "If you don't try everything at least 3 times. If you don't like it the first time, try it again. If you don't like it the second time, try it again." That's not the way he was. Then you get a real understanding whether you like it or not. You don't like it, get rid of it. But no, he was good. He was always positive, fun to be around, and we didn't really talk about hockey, to be honest with you. It was everything but hockey. We were just kind of, he was a Harley Davidson rider. He loved to ride his motorcycles. And this one time we were flying into Tampa Bay on a beautiful spring afternoon, and he says, "Ryan, let's go run a Harley." And I'm like, I never even grew up on a dirt bike, let alone a Harley. So our captain, Tony Amonte and Bob Pro, were both seasoned riders, and Aaron Downey and myself not, but at least Aaron rode dirt bikes as a kid. I did not. So they went in and they rented 2 Harley Davidsons. They taught us how to ride these Harleys in the parking lot. And now in Florida, there's no bucket laws either, right?
No buckets.
No shirts, just our dress pants on and our dress shoes on, right? So they taught us how to ride these bikes in the parking lot. We get on the back of these bikes. We drive to another Harley dealership. They rent 2 more bikes. So now we got our own bike. Now we're going right on the highway, St. Pete's Beach, right on the freeway, and we're driving it. And I was never been so scared in my life. And I'll never forget, we go for a bite to eat. And then on the way back, things are a little bit different. Like we had a bite to eat and we're driving back on a freeway and everyone's driving a little bit faster now because everyone's a little bit more confident. And I'm just trying to keep up with everybody. And I remember hearing this horn honk, and I'm like, honk, honk, honk. And I could barely look over to see because I just wanted to focus on where the hell I was going, right? Not what's around me. And I could barely look over. I look over at Probie. He's got his hands off the steering wheel with a camera taking a picture of me on the bike. Just a wild man. Overall, and a good family man too. He's 4 kids, and I used to pick him up with the cab, or I'd pick him up, take him to the rink, or vice versa. Right, we take turns doing that kind of stuff. And his kids were always at the door waving goodbye to his dad, and he was just a fun guy to be around. Overall, bless his soul.
Definitely, rest in peace.
And you were also in the Bob Probert ride there, kind of as a captain, kind of explain that experience and for people that may not know what it is, kind of what goes on with the Bob Probert ride.
Yeah, so that's so basically you register to do this ride and you leave out of downtown Windsor and you just go on this tour. I don't know how many kilometers it is, and I don't know how many thousands of bikes there were, but there's a ton of bikes, and then it's raising money for the Hotel Grace Hospital for heart disease. And that's he passed away obviously of a heart attack, but it was induced by other things. Unfortunately, he was dependent on the opioids, and that increases his risk there. But so the money raised there goes all back to the hospital to raise awareness of that kind of stuff. So it was a great experience to being a road captain and seeing a bunch of old teammates and other teammates that he's played with, and got to meet all him and hearing different stories of Probie from back in his early days and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, overall a really neat weekend that Danny organizes. His wife put all that together with a lot of other help.
How'd you like living in Chicago?
Chicago was amazing. I think Chicago was the best city that I lived in. My wife and I certainly enjoyed that city the best by far. Clean city, decent people. It's like a little community in there. We live right downtown Chicago, right? So once you go to the same restaurants and places, you kind of get to see the same people. So it was a really neat experience to be. We had no kids at the time. We weren't even married, so we just kind of did our own thing down there, and nobody knew who the hell you were in Chicago either. So you can get away with a lot of different things, right? You can walk.
Yeah. Did you ever get over to Wrigley and go see the Bean, do all the tour stuff?
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure, we'd catch the opening game of the season, and we'd always try and catch that in the springtime. So it was a really neat experience for sure.
Yeah, and that one year you had Dougie Gilmore come in. What was that like?
Yeah, that's what.
Dougie was a wild man. Yeah, he was. He certainly made the team more fun. That's for sure.
What made it so fun? What did he make so?
He could tear off his forehead. Right down to his nose, under his mouth. He could do a whole beer, just pour it down his forehead. I don't know how he didn't miss a drop, but he could do some pretty amazing things when he was pounding beers back.
Jeez. What was he like as a player? Like, what do you see with him?
Well, just his skill. I mean, he's at a whole nother level, right? Like the anticipation where pucks are going to be, just much like Gretzky, right? He wasn't the best skater, the best shot, but man, he could make plays and get the puck to the net and had that touch around the net too. So. No, he was a pretty talented guy. Theo Fleury, too. He was another guy that was there when I was there. And he was, holy man, you never realized how good that guy was until you see him in practice every day and what he can do with that puck.
Was Fleury was that part of the time when he was going through some of the stuff he outlined in his book?
Yeah. So Chicago signed him to a 4-year contract, $16 million. And the only conditions were not to drink or do drugs or I think there's another condition in there, gamble. And so he, in the first year of his contract, he ended up getting released because he breached his contract.
He checked all the marks in one night.
Yeah.
Checked every mark.
Unfortunately, he did. Yeah. Unfortunately, he did. And, but, I understand he's doing a lot better now, and he's speaking on the two, younger youth groups and, sharing his experiences and helping the people out that they don't go down the same footsteps he went in.
Walks.
Go ahead.
Walks. I think you had a story with Bushy and Theo, did you not?
Yeah. It was in the dressing room one time when we were skating together. Bushy, he gave him your number for a watch or something, and he said he never did
Never
get
got
the
the
watch.
watch.
He owes me a Rolex. That
Yeah.
so that summer we signed Fleury, and my trainer Troy Parchment calls me up. He said, "Well, we just signed Theo Fleury. He's wondering if you'd be willing to give up your number 14 jersey." And to me, like, number 14, no problem. I mean, he's the senior guy in the team, and he's been around a lot longer than I have. So of course I respect my elders. I'm going to do that. And then of course he says to Troy, "Well, tell him that I'm going to give him a Rolex watch too, right?" I don't need that. Thank you's good enough. But I never did see that watch.
Yeah. So Theo, if you're watching.
Yeah.
Do you ever keep in touch with any of those guys? Like, is there anybody you're really close with off those teams?
I ran into Theo at a few alumni functions that we run into. Jason Stredwick, the guy that we kind of touch base once in a while. Jamie Allison, a few guys there. Kyle Calder. I don't remember Kyle Calder. I think he's living out. Well, he is living out in California now. Yeah. There's a handful of guys that you kind of keep in touch with, right? Eric Cairns for the New York Islanders. He's a director of player development there. So, yeah, there's a handful of guys.
So, Bushy, 2004, you sign as unrestricted free agent with the Penguins. So you go from one legend team with Gretzky and Messier to another now with the rookie Sid and the veteran Mario. What was it like going from those veterans and legends to the new ones you played with, and how was Sid in his rookie year?
Oh, well, that was an interesting year too. We ended up winning the draft lottery there and got Crosby, and then that brought Lemieux out of retirement. So the previous year was the lockout year, so that was a waste. They sent me down to the minors to work with a lot of the younger guys. Marc-Andre Fleury was on that team then, and Rob Scuderi and Colby Armstrong, and who else was there?
Bunch of characters.
Ryan Whitney. And a bunch of characters were there. So a good group of guys. And then the following year, we drafted Crosby as number 1 overall, and Lemieux comes in, and I was really looking forward to the season. Eddie Olchuk was going to be the coach. We were teammates together in Chicago, and he ended up signing me in the summertime, just before the lockout year. And so I thought, this is going to be really exciting. We got Lemieux, and you got John LeClaire, and a lot of good guys, Mark Recchi. We had a stacked team, and but it just didn't jive. Like it was kind of weird being in the dressing room with the owner of the team, right?
That's true. Yeah.
He's not one of the best hockey players in the world, but he's actually signing our checks, right?
Yeah.
So these young guys that were so vocal in the minors the year before when I was playing with them, it was just a different vibe in the dressing room, and they never really got to express themselves. Maybe because, they were rookies, and they just, everyone kind of kept their mouth shut. When you got the owner and the captain and best hockey player in the world, it was a different vibe. So, make a long story short, Eddie Olchuk got canned. They tried to send me down to the minors, and I said, there's something wrong with my neck, and I knew there was. I was already damaged goods, but I was keeping my mouth shut. So I went and saw a specialist, and I ended up having surgery on my neck. So I think I only played 22 games that year, and then had surgery in February and fixed a fusion in my neck. So it wasn't the year that we expected. There's a lot of personnel changes since then, like throughout that whole year. And but look at what they did now.
Yep.
We made that team what they are now. We had such a shitty year that we had to draft high again the following year.
Yeah. Get Matt Malkin.
Hello, Malkin.
Yeah.
And by the way, we're going to win a few cups after this, by the way.
Right.
I couldn't believe it. You just look back at the stats, and you just look back at that team, and you're right. Crosby putting up 102 pints. Friggin' Mario putting up 22 in 26 games. Just coming out of retirement. The team should have did better, but the next closest guy had, was Gonchar, and he was a D-man.
Right.
58 points. So boys are having a little trouble putting the puck in the net.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Then you enjoyed your time in Pittsburgh?
It was great. Yeah, it was good for a while. It lasted. Both my kids were born in Pittsburgh too, so it was good. Yeah.
What coach really inspired you throughout your pro career? Who would you really enjoy playing under?
I like Mark Crawford.
None of them. Oh, you're a Crawford fan.
I'm a Crawford fan. He wasn't afraid to yell in your face 2 inches from your face and give you a little shot in the back once in a while. But for some reason, he motivated me, and I didn't need the abuse, or nobody does, but for some reason, he gave credit when credit was due as well, right? So he was just he taught me lots about the game, how to be a professional on and off the ice, and just come to work every day and just do your best, basically. And overall, I think Mark Crawford was definitely had a lot to do with my career and the success of my career.
What really separates an NHL coach from, let's say, an OHL coach? Little differences, things like that, in your opinion.
What separates an OHL coach versus
from an NHL coach? Yeah.
Well, I think the grind. I mean, in the OHL, the grind is very similar to the NHL, but you're playing 82 games as opposed to 66 games, and you're traveling all over North America. So I think a coach that can that's been there, done that understands the travel, that you do deserve some days off for once in a while to recover. That can I always say that to be a coach, you got to be a part psychologist, because not everyone gets motivated the same way. So it's up to that coach to kind of figure out what makes that player tick, and get the best out of them. And I felt Mark Crawford was good at finding out what motivates certain people and getting the best out of every one of his teammates or his players.
Bussche, a couple of player questions from Pittsburgh for you. First one, Flower. He's well known for his pranks around the NHL. Heard plenty of them. Did you ever get to witness any of his pranks? And
I love shoe checks. He was always under the table shoe checking somebody.
You know what's funny? You know what's Bussche? Friggin' nobody knows what a shoe check is. We got off the bus. And with my girls team, right? So I mean, and even the pros, like even playing with the pros, they don't know what shoe check is. And so I'm looking at the tables. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get somebody here. I need a shoe check. And my coach is like, wait, or not my coaches are like, what are you talking about? Like, you know what shoe check is? I'm like, you play NCAA hockey. What the hell are you talking about? You guys are on the road all the time. They're like, no, we don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just if it's just a part of male sports. But explain what shoe check is. If anyone doesn't understand what shoe check, do you know what shoe check is?
Not too familiar, no. But
there you go.
Okay,
you gotta be an elite athlete, man.
I just assumed that what shoe check was, but no, it's basically you could be at a restaurant, or usually it's a buffet style in a room. And everyone's sitting down eating their meals, and then someone will just kind of disappear and kind of go under the table and take a spoon of ketchup or whatever gross they could find and put it on top of someone's shoe, and then they make their way back to the seat without really anybody seeing. There's usually a couple people that are kind of like covering for the other person that's actually doing
I'm waiting for it. And
then all of a sudden, once everyone gets back to the table, then we kind of nod our head to the people that are kind of connected with who's part of this scam, and we just start dinging our glasses. Ding, 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 ding. Shoe check. Everyone steps back, looks at their feet. We got shoe checked, and then.
And then, did you make them? What did you make them do?
Pay the bill.
Did you do the song? Did you do the song thing? Did you make them sing?
No, they just had to play their shoe. No song, nothing like that.
No singing? Oh, that was one of the beauties that one of the rules we had. If you got shoe checked in the middle of the restaurant, you had to stand up and sing a song.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, it was vicious. Then we had rules. Did you have the rules to the game?
No.
Okay, so oh man, you're playing a weak game, or you're playing a weak game of shoe check. So there are a couple of rules. So the first thing is, if you're sitting at a table and the shoe, like everyone knows it's on. Like the minute you're at a restaurant, the minute you walk in, it's on. So the first rule: if you sit with your feet crossed, can't be shoe checked. So if your feet are crossed, can't be shoe checked. So you have to. So if you're doing it, you have to be particular. You have to catch guys doing it at certain times and catch them slipping, right? So if you actually looked under our room, like you see everybody close, and all of a sudden there's just that one guy that was talking, and he puts his feet apart, and it was on. And all of a sudden you see guys ducking underneath, shoe checking guys, put the ketchup on them, and then you just make them get up and sing a song.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah, we got videos and everything. Guys in like Boston Pizzas, McDonald's, Subway. We can't afford the good food on the road, so. But yeah, we had it was great. Oh, it's amazing, and no one knows what it is.
So the person that got shoe check wasn't responsible for the bill?
Oh no! We didn't. Come on, man. We're junior hockey players. We were lucky enough to get food. We couldn't afford that.
Well, maybe not with you, but with Bussche.
Oh yeah.
No. It was just a shoe check. It was if you fall asleep on a plane, we had to wear In Chicago, we had to wear ties. So if you fell asleep on the plane, you'd be lucky you didn't get your tie cut. Because take a scissors and you just cut it right there where it says laser right there. So then when they get up, it just falls off, right?
What was one of your biggest nights out what was the largest bill you'd ever seen?
A rookie dinner in Florida. Yeah, it was a pretty big bill. I don't even remember, but it was
over 10. Yeah.
I know there's about probably 4 rookies that year, and we had to spend, I think it was almost $3,000 a piece. And then Gretz stepped up to the plate, and he just says, "Just put in 2 or whatever," and he got the difference. So that was pretty cool.
Wow, man, that's awesome.
Another legend move, yeah.
Speaking of pranks, so that was one of the things that I used to do quietly, but I wouldn't really say much to anybody. So, in the middle of the dressing room, you got these Gatorade bottles that are sitting up there like big tanks, and you got. So what I would do, I'd get to the rink always early, and I would take an X-Acto knife, and I'd take a handful of the top 5 cups of each stack, right, and I'd make slits in them. And then I'd sit back in my stall, and I would just watch people go up there and take the glass and fill it up and go back to their stall and drink it. And as they drink it, it would kind of drip down on their shirt, and I'm just laughing my ass off. I never said nothing to nobody because I was a rookie.
Until now.
I was doing that for the rest of the year. But it was my way of, calming my nerves before the game and just laughing to myself.
You have any other sneaky ones?
That's awesome.
Well, sometimes I would put it all depends what kind of dressing room you're in, but sometimes like you have to put your helmet way up top, so you got to reach like the chin strap to kind of pull it down. And sometimes I put like a little bit of water underneath the helmet, so when they pull their helmet off, the water would fall on top of them. Or baby powder in the blow dryers.
That's a great one.
Yeah, we got our general manager, Bob Pulford at the time. He was an older guy, probably in his mid-60s at the time, and he comes out of the shower after practice one day and turns on a blow dryer and got himself a little baby powder all over his face.
My dad's cousin got married back in the day. They used to come out and you get in the car, right? You have to that was old school, right? You walk out of the church, you get in the car, and they drag the cans behind you and whatever, right? So what they did was they had the car out front, and similar story, but so the bride and groom were going in the car, and they did it with the air vents. So when they started the car and they're in their suits and all that, boom, you just see the car blow up, and it's just baby powder and whatever else they had in it. So they love telling that story around turkey dinners.
Oh, that's great. When we were in Newfoundland, we had all these cars called these little Chevettes, right? Like we just would rent these just to get around on the island. And so there was constantly pranks on these cars. Like we'd put Vaseline on the windshield wipers, or you'd put Vaseline inside you grab your door handle, or a lot of people would leave their cars unlocked and they'd put Vaseline or something gross on the stick shift, put your hand on there. It's just constant. You never know what you're getting into.
One of our old players, one of the things they used to do is they go over to the house of the one of the guys was older, so they had their own apartment. They were 21. They had 2. So what they would do is they'd sneak in their house, and they know they bought a lot of canned goods. And what they do is they would rip all of the labels off of the cans, and they'd leave them in, so you never knew what you were eating. You didn't know if it was corn, you didn't know it was soup, but they just left it there, and everything was off. That was awesome. And they take their wrappers and they just kind of fold them up and leave them around the house. So every now and then you'd find a little wrapper, but they had no idea what they were eating. They'd have to
roulette for dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Roxy, what about you? You got any junior C stories you can tell us?
Well, you know what? We down at school, we did that a couple times where we'd have house wars pretty much, right? And like fill up balloons and load them up in somebody's house, and then you'd set a few water balloons on the floor. That way, as they're popping them, all of a sudden you'd hit this water balloon and it just soaked the whole carpet or hardwood, whatever the case was. That, or we'd buy the big bags of bird seed and then fill the full front yard. And it would be like a flock of birds as they're coming out to go to school.
Anyone ever do the garbage can tip at the hotels?
Oh yeah. That was, I think we started that. The Canadian guy started that down there, and then everybody was doing it. You couldn't open your door.
Bussche, you know that one, obviously.
How's that one go? The garbage can?
You fill up.
You explain.
Basically, you fill up your hotel garbage pail, and you tilt
yeah.
when they open the door, all the water
Right.
flows right in.
You're right. Yes.
Did you ever do the toilet? Did you ever do the toilet one where you pull up the tube and stick it under the back? So if you lift up the back of the toilet, right? Normally there's a hose and it shoots down and fills your thing up with water. Well, you can actually pull it out and you so you tuck it just a little bit underneath. So when you flush the toilet, it hits you right in the back.
That was a good one too.
That was a good one. We did that one a lot. You had to find the right toilet though. It had to be like a little bit of an older one.
Yeah.
But man, it worked. Oh, when it worked, it was good because there's no stopping it.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
And if you're going to the bathroom, you're not getting up.
I did the old saran wrap on a toilet before.
Yeah,
that's classic. I never ended up pulling that off.
Splashing everywhere.
Yeah.
So characters, I want to ask you on Whit. Did you ever think Whitney would be so successful after his career, having the #1 vodka and his podcast?
#1 podcast and hockey.
It took like probably 2 months for me to get a bottle of that pink Whitney.
Yeah. Right? I know. It took for, especially around here.
Yeah, good for him. You know what? When I hear him speak on Spit and Chicklets, I just feel like I'm in the dressing room again because he sounds the exact same way. He's just always chirping and loved having a good time. And
yeah,
he was a character. It doesn't surprise me because he's got such a passion for the game and that and golf, I think, and he can talk about that forever. So
absolutely,
it's good for him for sure.
Another quick player who's also interesting to me is Ziggy Palffy.
Ziggy Palffy.
You got any stories or anything on him?
No, I wasn't in pit that long with Ziggy, but he was pretty skilled dude.
Yeah,
point a game, no big deal.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, no, he was impressive. Yeah.
Walks, what do you got, buddy?
Well, I've just got a text in from a buddy of ours, Bussche. Tobes told me say hello to you.
Oh, right on.
I did get a question from him to ask you about was Dennis Bonvie. Kind of what was he like? And I mean, you fought him, you played with him. What was the story with him?
Yeah, Bonds and I, we battled at every level, every year pretty much, from junior A to, right to the NHL, through the minors, right to training camp in Pittsburgh. We were in training camp together from 9 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. We were fighting. I mean, the goddamn times, it was crazy. He was my nemesis, that's for sure. I give him all the credit in the world, man. That guy battled out in the minors for a long time, and he fought all the heavies down there. And he gets called up to the NHL and fought a lot of the heavies in the NHL too. Like he's not that big of a guy. He's a little bit bigger than me, but man, he's done really, really well for himself. Where is he now? I know he was scouting with Chicago. I'm not sure where he is now.
I'm not sure where he is now.
Yeah, but no, I had some good battles against him from the time I was 17 years old until I was probably 33 years old, fighting on a Sunday afternoon, 9 o'clock in the morning in Pittsburgh.
Well, you fought Stu Grimson and Donald Brashear. If you had to pick one of them to go with, who would you pick?
Oh, I thought, Stu was mean. He was, who would I want to go? I'd rather fight Donald then, but Stu, he was a mean dude. He wanted to hurt you. That's for sure. He didn't like to lose.
Naturally mean, like personality-wise too. Like
no, great guy off the ice. I mean, on the ice, I'll never forget. Like the first time I fought him I was with the Rangers, and I was young and anxious, and to go to fight, and he turned me down. And then later on that game, I'm running around thinking he's not going to want to fight me. At the end of my shift, he hits me on the boards, and my helmet pops off, and he drops his gloves, and he says, "Let's go." He got the best of me by far. The only thing I proved in that fight was I could take a punch. And then fast forward a few more years, I played against him. He's with Anaheim now, and I'm with Chicago. And I just had to redeem myself. I just had to go after him. So I went after him. I ended up breaking his nose and dropped him.
Nice.
Punch. And then I'm in a dressing room between periods, and Dave Manson is on our team. And he says, "Bussche, the Grim Reaper is going to want to come after you again, and he's going to want to really hurt you. But my advice to you is don't fight him." So, of course, the next period starts, and I'm out there, and who's right beside me before the puck drops? The Grim Reaper. Doesn't say a word. The puck drops, and he just drops his gloves at the same time, and he's frothing at the mouth, right? He just annihilated me, and you can see this on YouTube. I think it was his second or third punch. He popped me right in the nose and broke it. and dropped me down to my knees. I ended up getting back up and just fighting for my life to survive. And he ended up falling. I kind of fell on top of him, and it looked like there was blood coming from him, but it was definitely all coming from my nose. So it was a nasty massacre. But then I think a week later, we're playing against him again, and I lined up against him, and he says, "Let's keep it clean tonight, eh?" And I said, "I have no problem with that." Sure. I've had my nose broken 3 times. I've been in over 300 bare knuckle on ice fights, and I've only had my nose surprisingly broken 3 times. And one was from George Laraque, Wade Belak, and Stu Grimson. Yeah. Those are the 3 guys that definitely could hurt you.
I'm sure you've talked about this. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I'm sure you've talked about it many times. Obviously, the knockout with Kipper. When you got into that, kind of, do you remember after you connected? Do you kind of remember what you were thinking after that? I know your adrenaline was running, but he went down like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah, it was. There's 2 parts to that fight, and
sure.
The first part, I cut him on a cheek, and then we kind of brought each other in, and at that time, I was able to get even a better grip on his shoulder pads. He had these shoulder pads on. They break away, right? If you grabbed on my shoulder pads, they'd kind of break away. His was really tight, and I just remember that, and I just remember hitting him hitting him on a sweet spot right on a jaw, and then he just dropped. And I didn't know what happened until I got back to the penalty box, and I looked back, and he was still laying on the ice. And I remember thinking at the time, damn, that could have been me. I just hit him with a lucky one. And he went down, and after that, honest with you.
Well, listen, it's great information for the public, and obviously, from all of us here, we wish you the best of your endeavors, and really appreciate you coming on our show today and being a part of this.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
And before we go, I got Jeremy Leblonsky is listening in, and he just said you're a classy player, stand-up guy, and one tough SOB.
Oh, I just heard him on Spit and Chicklets. So I watched a lot of his fights. He's a tough dude, boy.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, thanks again to our guest, Ryan VadenBussche, for joining the show today. And just a reminder, Off the Puck Hockey can be seen every Saturday night, 9 p.m. on Rogers TV Channel 20. Also, special thanks go out to our new sponsor, Hockey Shot. Improve your skills on and off the ice with Hockey Shot's extensive line of training products. Hockey Shot is focused on using the latest technology to develop unique products that are versatile, affordable, and the highest quality, support the growth of every player's abilities. Hockey Shot. Players worldwide are using Hockey Shot products to take their skills to the next level, and if you're looking to elevate your game, visit hockeyshop.com to learn more. I'm your host, Tyler Fines, and with me, as always, my co-host, Adam Stiles, Mikey Walks, producer Matt behind the scenes, Marity Zilstra, providing our theme music. Thanks, boys, again for coming on. This is Off the Puck Hockey. Let's go.
Thanks, Bushy.